Hello, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Magic is in You podcast, a podcast designed to empower you to tune in, tap in, and turn on the magic that is already inside of you, to own your badassery, to walk confidently into life, in your business, in your relationships, and into this experience, this adventure that we get to call life. I am Kelsey Holmes. I am so grateful you're here today. Thank you for tuning into 10 episodes. We have hit a milestone. We are in the double digits, and I am so excited that you're here today. I am a life and mindset coach. I empower badass women entrepreneurs to truly cultivate the magic within inside of them, allow themselves to shine their light, and bravely take action towards cultivating a life that they fucking love, that lights them up from the inside out, because they are lit up from the inside out. And I'm so stoked you're here today. I have a doozy of a story to share with you. So it's all about harnessing this rock star energy that's already within inside of us, to break the rules, to allow ourselves to cultivate a life that we truly desire. And how I've been harnessing this energy in the past few weeks after having just invested in a new coach, up-leveling my game yet again, investing in myself over and over and over again. I've been implementing what I'm learning in my new coach's world. And I've got a story to share. So before we dive into the story, though, I want to share with you an opportunity to cultivate your magic. Inspired Magic, I'm so excited, is the very first beta launch of Inspired Magic, which is a 4-week transformational elevation program to help you inspire, as in breathe in the magic that's already within inside of you, so that you can truly embody the magic that's in you from the inside out, elevating your self-trust, your self-worth, and your self-confidence, so that you can show up powerfully and authentically in the world around you, moving bravely, taking the brave action that it takes to cultivate a life that truly lights us the fuck up, because what we desire is outside of our comfort zone. And when we can trust ourselves, when we can know ourselves, when we can grow ourselves, so that we can take brave, confident action, even if we don't know what the outcome is going to be, even if it goes sideways, like this story that I'm about to tell you, we can still show up as the confident badass, magical badass that we already know that we are. So Inspired Magic, I'm so excited. We're going to start on the full moon next week, Friday, November 1st. So get in there. There's going to be an app, the link is in the show notes below. And there's also an option for a VIP option. So if you want more focused one-on-one work with me throughout this Inspired Magic group coaching expansion transformation program, there is an option for one-on-one VIP calls for a handful of badass action-taking women. So I promised you a doozy of a story. So let me set the scene. Over the last few weeks, I have done 3 art shows, or 3 weekends of art shows with my steel fabrication business. I have hosted my first live 3-day masterclass that I've hosted in almost 2 years, which, if you want the replays of the Embodied Magic Masterclass for free, jump on the link below. It'll be Embodied Magic Masterclass. It was so much fun. We allowed ourselves to tune and tap in and embody the magic within inside of us using somatic and subconscious practices, as well as energetic techniques. So click the link below and you can get into that masterclass for free, my gift to you. And anyway, so I was hosting the masterclass, doing these 3 art show weekend events, and also we were running our Airbnb and lifing and expanding and growing and creating. And it's been such an elevation, because I was also a part of a masterclass at the same time I was hosting a masterclass. And through this masterclass, I invested in myself. With this masterclass, I was pushed outside of my comfort zone. It is with the fabulous Shoshana Raven of Living Brave. And so what the fuck did we do? We fucking bravely stepped way the fuck up and became Brave AF. That was the title of the masterclass. Anyway, so during this masterclass, the concepts of the chill rocket ship, riding the chill rocket ship. How chill can we be? And living the rock star life. The rock star life as in breaking all of the rules, going against the grain, and cultivating abundance, excitement, creativity, beauty in this world, impact in this world through living this rock star lifestyle. So just kind of to set the scene of where I was at in this moment of time, I was in the middle of Brave AF, cultivating my rockstar, badass, chill as fuck, chill rocket ship energy, as well as hosting my masterclass, embodying the magic that was inside of me already to host this masterclass, tuning in, tapping in, and turning on my magic every single day, because this is a daily practice. It's not a light switch, you flip it on and it's always on there for you. So I practice this stuff every single day, tapping into my magic, embodying my magic, and turning on the magic within inside of me so that I can show up powerfully for my clients, for my husband, for my artwork, for my businesses, for my friends, for my family, for this world. Anyway, so I was still doing my daily yoga practice, which is I attribute to me being able to stay on the chill rocket ship. But to set the scene, Nate and I were going into our second weekend of an event called Oktoberfest here in Whitefish. So think, yes, like German Oktoberfest, beer steins and polka all weekend long. For 2 weekends straight, we got to have an art booth set up at this event locally here in Whitefish, Montana. And it's a fucking hoot. This is our third year that we've done it. So we kind of know what to expect. We kind of know the scene, what it's going to be like, the vibe, what it's going to be like. We had attended the event in years past and remembered mostly what it was like at that point, but a few beers deep at that point for those years. But the last couple of years, it's been a really fun event for us. It's a great way for us to get our artwork and our steel fabrication and furniture out in front of those that we've never met before. So we were at the event for our second weekend. It was the second night of our second weekend. So these are 3-day weekends where it's like Thursday evening, Friday evening, all day Saturday kind of event for 2 weekends in a row. And we were on our second night, so the Friday of the second weekend. And they had been calling, it had been beautiful weather all week, which is such delight because the last couple of years it was cold as fuck, as in like 45 and rainy all weekend. And we're outside and turning blue. But this year it had been gorgeous. I mean, like 65 to 70 and sunny, which here in Montana that time of year, end of September, early October, is like almost unheard of. It was so delightful. It was so enjoyable. And then on Friday, they were calling for like 50-mile-an-hour winds. And I didn't really believe them. They have a tendency to, it feels like, sometimes exaggerate the weather here in Montana with so many new people moving in. It feels like, every 2-inch snowstorm they get, they say that we have extreme winter weather coming our way and it's only going to be 2 inches. Anyway, I thought the weatherman was exaggerating, but we were sitting all set up for Friday night. It was about 10 minutes before they were going to open the doors. Nate and I had just finished setting everything up. So we sat down in our chairs to just chill for a second before the floodgates opened at the front gate. And we were kind of looking around, like waiting for the wind. It was supposed to, like, they were predicting it to hit around 2:00 that day. And it was about 5:00 this day. And so we were sitting, waiting for the wind. And I was videoing a little video of the fall leaves coming off the willow tree that we were sitting underneath. And it was just these yellow leaves just ever so lightly dancing in the wind, falling slowly to the ground. And I was videoing these leaves like, oh, it's so pretty. It's so delightful. And thinking to myself, oh, the weatherman just like totally missed this one. And then all of a sudden, as I'm videoing these beautiful little leaves just lightly dancing all the way down to the ground, sitting in our yellow tent with all of our steel art around us and like waiting for people to come in, across the way, just beyond the park that we were in, there's a little viaduct. So it's a bridge that goes over the train tracks and over the train yard. And so just across the way, I see this cloud of dust coming our direction. And all of a sudden I was like, maybe that's the wind. And I stopped the video and I put my phone in my pocket and the wind starts to pick up a little bit. And then it starts to pick up a little more. And then all of a sudden, two of our walls that we had tucked up, we open up our little yellow tent. It's like a 10 by 10 yellow tent. You can see it on my Instagram if you're curious. But we opened up two of the walls to be able to have people come in. And all of a sudden the wind came in and it swept into our tent and it pulled the two walls that we had tucked up down. And they started flapping in the wind. And all of a sudden Nate and I were like kind of trying to tuck the walls back up. And then we heard this big whoosh. And before we even like recognized what the sound we heard was, all of a sudden the wind came up, swept underneath our tent and pushed our tent up into the air like 10 feet. This is not even a 10-foot tall tent. But all of a sudden, I was holding on to one of the corners for dear freaking life as our now kite, not tent, but now kite took off, like trying to blow our neighbor's tent that was next to us down with it. All of a sudden, I was holding on to one leg. Nate was holding on to the other leg, as well as holding on to one of the walls. We've got big 1/4-inch plywood walls to hang all of our steel art on to be able to display it for our shoppers, for our people who are coming to check our art booth out. And all of a sudden he was holding on to one of those walls and also the other tent stake. And I'm fucking screaming at this point because I notice all of a sudden the cinder block that was tying down the back corner is now 12 feet up in the air, flying in the air like a fucking paperweight, hardly even like a feather, excuse me, not a paperweight, like a feather, just flying around like almost on top of our neighbor's tent. Recognizing that the leg from the back corner was also on top of our neighbor's tent. So I was just hollering that we needed help. We needed help now. And thank goodness, we have such an incredible community. Within a few moments, within a few seconds, we had guys running across the park who had been there volunteering, setting up for Oktoberfest. They were running across the park. They helped us hold the tent down. I said, let's rip off the roof. So we ripped off the roof. We unvelcroed the roof, we ripped it off, and all of a sudden the kite wasn't there so much, but our walls were still blowing like freaking crazy. And the two back walls, both the plywood walls with all of the steel on it and the two back walls were blowing like crazy. We still had this crazy kite kind of situation as the wind's continuing to pound at 40 to 50 miles an hour right into our booth. And so we get down all of the steel art as fast as we possibly can. Nate's got the screw gun. He's pulling screws out, steel's flying left and right on the ground, piling it up, just trying to get it off the wall so that it doesn't get picked up in the wind and fly away. So we're weighting the steel. We're stacking everything on top of each other. And if you've ever done steel work, you know that stacking steel is going to scratch the shit out of the piece below. So it's one of those like cringe every time we put one of the steel artwork pieces down on the ground. Cringe again, cringe again, cringe again, as we stack up all of this steel artwork that Nate had worked so fucking hard on the last few weeks prior to that, leading up to the event. We finally get the walls down, thankfully for our fucking awesome, incredible community, because we couldn't do it by ourselves. The walls were literally pulling Nate and I over. We had to have like 4 people on each of the fucking plywood walls so that we didn't get literally blown away. Like the wind was just pounding so hard. I am so grateful for our community and our family. I called my mom and I was like, I know, Mom, you called me earlier and you said you would come help us if the wind blew us away, jokingly, not thinking that this wind was real, but it's real. Can you please come help me? And so she came down, my sweet mom came down, and we start loading all of the steel stuff, all of the steel art, all of our whole booth we start packing it out of the park through the food vendor maze, carrying all of this heavy steel. I start tossing it in the truck, tossing it in my mom's car so that we can just get all of our stuff out of the park, because we were so concerned that either our plywood walls or the steel art was going to get literally lifted up by this pounding relentless wind that we were so sarcastic about beforehand. We thought it was going to get picked up and blown across the park. And at that point, Oktoberfest had opened. So we were tearing down all of this stuff while there's like vendors and people running around. They've got their steins of beer and kids are running everywhere wild. It's like this crazy mania adventure when you're there. But the wind was so wild that we had to get out of there. So long dramatic story. We get all of the stuff into the vehicles. We haul it all back. I'm so grateful. My sweet folks, they drove some of our stuff from their house all the way out to our house, which is like another half hour. And they drove it all out to our house. We unload all of the stuff into our shop. And afterwards, after we had a beer with my folks, we came inside and both sat down and was just like, fuck, like, what just happened? And so much gratitude for our community and so much gratitude for the fact that nobody fucking got hurt. We were like, we made it. We made it out of the park. Nobody got hurt. That's what's important. Nobody got hurt. We didn't really look at the steel art. It was one of those moments where I don't even want to look. I don't want to see the damage that we just created. We just spent, 15 minutes to tear down, not 15 minutes. We spent whatever amount of time to tear all of that down. And after having put so much work, weeks of labor up to that point for all of this work. And in 15 minutes, we just tore it all down and probably just scratched and bent the shit out of it all. So we unloaded everything. We're sitting there and we're kind of just like, fuck, now what? Like, after we decompressed a little bit, after we ate some food, grounded, breathed a little bit, I was like, okay, well, tomorrow. And Nate's like, I don't want to talk about tomorrow. It's like, okay. And so in my mind, I made this little plan. I had been thinking about my rock star moment and chill as fuck. Like, how chill can I be during this? How chill can I be during this moment of super inconvenience, of pain in my ass? How do I want to tell this story after this? Do I want to leave Oktoberfest this year having literally gotten blown away in defeat with my tail between my legs? Or how can this be my rock star moment? How can I live a rock star moment right now? How can I bust through the rules, bust through the expectations? How can I say yes to life and what's happening? Like, this happened. Okay, now what? Feel my feelings, release it all out. Now what? And so in that moment, as I was sitting there next to Nate, who wanted nothing to do with going the next day, which I respected, I understood. I thought seriously about not going the next day and just saying, fuck it. Like, most of it's damaged. We can't put our walls back up. It's this whole huge process to like reset the booth up and take it down. We were going to have to set it up and take it down in one day. And it was like a 12-hour day show kind of thing. And I ask myself, okay, so what do I want to do? How do I want to respond? How do I want to tell this story afterwards? How do I want to live this story after the chaos of what just happened? And so I decided to myself, without telling Nate, that the next day I would at least go and I knew we had a couple of pieces that we didn't bring because we didn't have room in our truck. So I knew I could bring a couple of steel mountain coat racks that we had in the shed. And I knew I could bring one steel yard screen that we had, which was like this cool dragonfly cutout privacy screen for people's yards that has some native Montana wildflowers and a mountain ridge up top. And that's, like 3 feet wide by 6 feet tall or something like that. I knew I had a handful of things that I could bring that I knew that weren't damaged from the night before. So I told myself that I would, even if Nate doesn't want to go, I would at least go and bring a couple bare minimums and a fucking smile the next day. And so the next day I wake up and we're kind of taking a slow morning and it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and load the truck up real quick with these last few things. I'll bring a card table and put a tablecloth out, bring the lookbooks and like these 3 things. And Nate said, really? You're really going to go? And I said, yep, you can hang here. Like, I'm going to go. I'm going to just like wrap up the weekend. I don't want to like leave on that note of yesterday of the chaos of almost getting blown away. And so we talked for a little while and he decided he was just going to take a little long extra morning and make me some lunch and bring me some lunch and food and snacks and come a few hours later. So I ended up packing the truck, or Nate helped me, but we packed the truck up with what wasn't damaged. I drove over to the park, the next town over, and I unloaded all of this steel art that we had, the tables, the chairs, packed in a couple of packs by myself, making trips into the park, into the middle of the park. And I got our booth set up enough to at least show our smiling faces, to share a little bit of our work, to share the fucking funny story that happened the night before of us literally getting blown out, what felt like blown out of the park. We didn't actually get blown out of the park, but damn near. Anyway, at the end of the night, we pack everything up at like 10:45 at night. Everybody's like kind of wrapping up. Oktoberfest is winding down. They're about to bust down all of the big stuff around us. And we're packing up at the end of the night. And Nate and I are chuckling like, well, at least it's an easy pack up. We sell another coat rack literally 5 minutes before we leave after we're half packed up. We sell a couple other things that day. So all of a sudden the weekend like kind of turns around in sales. We missed a whole night. So we didn't have an opportunity to meet a bunch of people that second night that weekend. We're wrapping everything up. We pack up in like record time because we have almost nothing with us. And we're chuckling to ourselves like, well, we would have been here till like 1 o'clock in the morning packing our other booth up all nice and neat with anything that hadn't sold over the weekend, rather than having torn it down in like 20 minutes the night before. And so we get home. We park in the garage, we're chuckling, we're laughing to each other. We've got a fucking frozen pizza in the oven. We're sitting on the couch next to each other and just like laughing at how fun the last day was. Nate ended up coming midday and he was in a great mood after he chilled out and rested up a bit and like kind of got over the shock of what was the night before. And we had just a blast the rest of the day. And as we were sitting there on the couch that night, we're just talking about how much fun it was and how grateful we were that we showed the fuck up. And Nate looked at me and he was just like, babe, I have to tell you, I appreciate you so much. Like, thank you so much for doing the damn thing today. He said, I wanted to absolutely say fuck it, and you didn't pressure me at all, and I felt so grateful that you stepped up and like did that and hauled all of that stuff in, because that's not easy. That shit's heavy. Like the screen, he was saying how heavy and awkward it is, and I even had somebody try and help me, and then she's like, oh my gosh, I can't help with that, it's too heavy. Anyway, he just really expressed a lot of gratitude and appreciation in that moment. And we were able to have a really special, deep moment on the couch just for the fact that I allowed myself to be where I was at. I allowed myself to lean into what I was learning. How can I be chill as fuck in this moment? How can I ride the chill rocket ship? How can I decide what story I want to live and decide how I'm going to show up in this moment with now what life has gifted me? How do I want to tell the story of this experience? Do I want to tell the story of being done? Or do I want to tell the story of like the fucking rock star that pulled the shit together, a little haggard, but made it in there and like fucking slayed the rest of the weekend, elevated the rest of the weekend to leave on a high note, having had fun, having made genuine connections, laughing with our neighbors the next day who had witnessed the whole thing and after we helped them break down their booth. Just like everybody in so much gratitude and appreciation for the wild weekend, but also like the community that we had there. And being able to sit on the couch that night with Nate and having intentionally lived my story that day, having intentionally taken action from a place of how can I make my future self proud? How can I make my past self proud? How can I fucking align with this rockstar energy and live intentionally today? And having really felt that, done it, lived it, and get to be on the other side telling this story, and then also being appreciated for it. Because even though I've grown so much and don't need the appreciation from others, like, because I finally fucking appreciate myself. Oh my goodness, what a gift. It still feels so fucking good to get the appreciation from others, right? But if we want appreciation from others, we get to appreciate them. We get to appreciate ourselves. Reading Loving What Is by Byron Katie was and has been one of the most transformational experiences of my life, truly, because when I started asking myself, if I want to feel appreciated, how can I appreciate myself rather than how can I be appreciated by others? So much in my life changed. And all of a sudden, when I started appreciating others, they started appreciating me. which is a fucking game changer, isn't it? If you want to be appreciated, you get to appreciate both others and yourself. So, wild tale, happy ending, and living the rock star life, living on the chill rocket ship, like allowing yourself to meet yourself where you're at, experience your feelings, and then intentionally decide how you want to show up from there. Because not everything in life is going to be rainbows, butterflies, and sunshines always. Sometimes we have 50-mile-an-hour windstorms that come slaying through your fucking steel art tent and try and send it across the park, across town, along with all of your steel wall art that's fucking screwed to the walls. And so when those windstorms, tornadoes maybe feels like for a moment there, happen, we get to have our experience, we get to feel our emotions, and then we get to decide how we want to show the fuck up in the wreckage, in the carnage of steel artwork scratched to shit and everywhere. We get to decide how we want to show up from there. What story are we going to be able to tell from that moment of decision of how you want to continue on? Life's handed you this card deck, right? I, for example, love a good game of cribbage. If you don't know cribbage, it's a delightful card game, very popular in the Midwest. Anyway, I love a good game of cribbage, and you don't always get dealt the best hand, but you get to play your cards intentionally. And that's just like life, right? We don't always get dealt the best hand, but with the hand that we have, we get to intentionally place our cards, play our cards, and make magic happen from there. So I hope this story was inspiring. I hope that this story was a little bit fucking funny, because in hindsight, it really is funny. And we survived our first epic windstorm being an artist in an art booth at outdoor venues and outdoor shows. We've done, I think, 9 or 10 like this now. The weather is always a variable, and we'd heard the stories about tents flying across the park and booths getting blown away in winds and stuff like that, but had not yet experienced it ourselves. And so it has allowed us to completely rethink and redesign our booth. We're going to have a fucking bomber booth the next outdoor art show we're at, the next event that we have. And we live and learn. And this, I think, is just kind of a fun, funny tale to share how we do get to live and learn, and then how we get to empower ourselves when we live life and life lives and does the things. So in love, light, and so much gratitude. If you enjoyed this, drop me a note, shoot me a DM on Instagram or on Facebook. And I would love to connect. I would love to learn more about you. What has been lighting you up about the magic is in you? What makes you curious? What makes you excited? What makes you want to grow yourself? Why do you want to grow yourself? Why do you want to know yourself? Why do you want to tune in, tap in, and turn on your magic? I know for me, I want to know this because I want to live this life on purpose with intention, so that I can not only tell a good story in hindsight, but fucking live a good story now, so that I can be proud of myself now, past, future, and present self, right? So that we can love our life now and ourself now, even if we're not loving everything in our life, even if we aren't where we think we should be or want to be yet, we get to still love ourselves now and love ourselves forward and love ourselves into growth, love ourselves into feeling that worthiness, deserving, feeling confident, feeling enough. So in love, light, and so much fucking gratitude, thank you for listening. If you loved it, please leave a 5-star review. I would so appreciate you. And if you have any questions about Inspired Magic or the Embodied Magic Masterclass, feel free to shoot me a DM or check out the links below. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.